I'm Heather from booktubes, and today is my October reading wrap up. In the month of October, I read a lot. I read 53 books. I DNF'd 19 of them, so I'm going to talk about 34 today. The good news is several of these are series that I read, so I can just talk about them in the series. But yeah, I read a lot. So we're going to go in order of when I read the first book of the series. The first one is The Invader, which is In the Dark #1 by Steli Simonova. I read 2 and 3 as well. All 3 of these were 3 stars. This one I'm not 100% sure is in the same series as the others. It seems to be listed differently on Goodreads and on Amazon, but these were erotic, dark novellas. They were fine. They were not good. They were not the worst things I've ever read. They were fine. This one, he's there to assassinate her and takes her virginity instead. The second one is a consensual non-consent chase through the woods with a mask. And the third one is the same type thing in a cornfield. And there was corn involved, and I don't know what I did to deserve that because I shouldn't have read it multiple times in multiple books. I shouldn't have. You can be in the cornfield and have sex and not use the corn. Then I read Her Vicious Beast, The Beginning, which is a prequel novella to Her Vicious Beast by E.P. Valley. And then I also read the full-length novels, books 1 through 3. So I read the novella before Love in the Night, and I read the rest of the series after Love in the Night. I gave these 4 stars, 4 stars, 5 stars, and 3 stars, respectively. They get really long, like 600 pages plus. The series is not finished. This is a Why Choose dark paranormal romance. All of them are different types of shifters. This is a paranormal world. There are humans as well, but pretty much all of this is focused in the paranormal society. Her dad is awful and abusive. He's the king of the snakes, and he doesn't value her, and he uses her and abuses her. And the last book was the one I liked the least, and there were some choices made that I didn't really like, but I feel like they're done in that book, so I think that I will like the next book in the series more. It's definitely Rejected Mates and Hate to Love and yada yada. Each book, a different mate ends up like stealing the bond with her and being devoted to her. So there's 5 guys. We are, and so far in the series, 3 are mated to her. So it's a new adult Why Choose. I like it. Is it my favorite thing ever? No. Do I like it? Yes. Will I be reading the next one when it comes out in the spring? Yes. I definitely agree with Izzy, Happy for Now, who is how I read this book, but read the prequel novella, which you can get for free from the author's newsletter, and if you like that, you'll like the series. If you don't like that, you definitely won't. Then I read The Alpha of Bleak Isle by Catherine Moon. This whole next section was Love in the Night, so I have a whole vlog talking about all those books, but I gave this 5 stars. This was a recommendation from Jessica Donegan, who has a channel here on BookTube, and I like Catherine Moon. Read her a few different times, and there's been a few books that were kind of misses for me. But this is a very safe Omegan verse. It is just one couple. It's not Why Choose. It's dragons. He's the leader. He's the alpha. She's an Omega. She's one that got overlooked by a lot of different people. She's taller than average, bigger than average, and also very, very quiet. She's an introverted bookworm who avoids society as much as possible. The thing that I really, really liked about this is that he pays attention to her. He pays attention to how she reacts to different things and what makes her comfortable and what doesn't make her comfortable. And he really works very hard to help her feel confident in herself and in his love and regard for her. And he works really hard at treating her well and making her life better. And his siblings also do that, which I really appreciate. That's not just him, and that the people around her, when she is his mate, basically treat her really well, because prior to that, they didn't. And you do see her really kind of come into her own in this book, and I like that as well. Then I read Vampire Dormatory volumes 1 through 3. I gave these 4 stars. This is another Why Choose? Maybe? Love triangle, maybe? Honestly, not 100% sure where we're going with this. Vampire romance manga. It's good. Some of the ways that gender's talked about in this I don't love, but it is kind of pushed back as well. So maybe just, if that's a sensitive topic for you, maybe not the best. Then the highlight of my reading month was Rules of Redemption, which is the Firebird Chronicles by T.A. Way. I did read all 5 books that are out in this series. It's not a finished series, unfortunately. I read these back to back to back. They're all 5 stars. It's a new favorite author. It's like Kate Daniels in space. If you like Alona Andrews, this is going to be a great author for you. The characters really reminded me of Kate Daniels. The relationship dynamic really reminded me of that. And just kind of the tone of writing really reminded me of that. So I really think if you like one, you will really like the other, which is great for me because I love both. This was recommended by a commenter who has a random username, but they are my new favorite person, so thank you so much. So basically this main character was experimented on as a child and was in like a camp where it was all children, they were all trained, and they were all abused and experimented on, and you know, just kind of the horror stories like that. She ended up escaping, training in the army, being part of a war, and now several years after the war, and she is a scavenger and a loner and just doing her own thing, right? And things happen one after the other, and she kind of gets roped into having to deal with this alien society, and she's not thrilled about it at all, and things are maybe not as they appear, and obviously she meets the love of her life, whom I love so much. I love him. She ends up having found family and support and all sorts of stuff, but not without some significant issues. So 5 books back to back to back as quickly as I could. They're not short books. I love them. I love them. I will be rereading them next year, hopefully with a read along, and I am desperately hoping that the next book comes out next year. This is easily my best recommendation of the entire month. If you're here because you want to know what I read that was really good that you should read too, this is it. This is it right here. Read this one. Next, I reread One Night, One Bite by Julia Anderson. 5 stars, obviously. This is a Black vampire novella in an alternate history of the United States. I love it. I've recommended it a bajillion times, reread it. Looking forward to continuing the series when it comes out. Julia Anderson is one of my favorite paranormal romance authors, so this is hardly a surprise. Then I read Heart's Prisoner by Olivia Riley. I gave this 3 stars. This is an alien romance by an author who wrote an alien romance that I really loved. However, that romance is a trope that I specifically love, Prison Planet. This I didn't love. He is a prisoner in a human prison, and they are like kind of experimenting on him and, you know, trying to decide if he's hostile and all of this stuff. And she is a like behavioral therapist that they get to do that, and there's none of the tropes really worked for me, and because of that I didn't love it. Then I read The Dame and the Devil by Dahlia Davies. This is saints have to dance with all of these sinners, and if you kiss the devil you end up staying with him for a year, and she's been actually hunting the devil and trying to be his mate. That's all it is. It was fine. It's on Halloween. Then I read Outride Volume 4. I gave this 4 stars. This is a why choose kind of bizarre Omega-verse type fantasy world where, you know, she's the only hope of their continued survival as a species, and she has to have sex with them because the air poisons her. And there's one part of the plot that I'm hoping is coming to a close that I don't really love. I think we're almost done with it, and I would like to be done with it. And then I think I'll like this even more once that element is hopefully gone. Then I reread The Queen of Atolia and The King of Atolia, which are the Queen's Thief series 2 and 3 by Megan Manley Turner. The King of Atolia is one of my all-time favorite books. The Queen of Atolia is right up there too. The King of Atolia is my favorite book in the series. It beats her out. As soon as I finished The Queen of Atolia, I did read one more book, and then I was like, no, I gotta read The King. I got to. This is a young adult political fantasy, but in The Queen of Atolia, we follow the thief from the first book, and we also follow an enemy queen who is struggling to navigate her court because she rules misogynistic men, and that's really the only reason why she struggles, because she is brilliant and ruthless. And then in The King of Atolia, we follow a brand new character who's a guardsman, and we see our character from the first book, the thief, again. And we're kind of watching someone else's observations of him, and we are also seeing a whole new setting, basically. And this one with the court politics and the court intrigue and outsmarting other people and, you know, the balance of power and trying to hold on to power and trying to limit other people's power without pissing off another person, you know, that you can't afford to. You need them to stay on your side, so your hands are tied in what you can do over here, but like, if you don't do this, if you do this, then, you know, that's bad for you. Just, I don't know. I love the court intrigue, the politics games. I love watching good players of those games, and that is just like my favorite part of this besides the romance that we have. I love the strategy and the smart characters and the way that they outsmart everyone. I just love it. I also really love a woman in power, and when a powerful woman without allies finds someone who loves them and is in their corner and is an asset to them and makes their life better. I love that. Then I reread Fear the Flames by Olivia Rose Darling. I kept this at 4 stars, so I read the traditionally published version. I'd already read the indie published version. There's more dragons, although it's not that much more, and nothing has really changed with the plot, so honestly, you do not need to read the traditionally published version to continue the series if you've already read the indie one. Either one is totally fine. You get the whole gist of the story. There's not that much different. So we have a exiled princess, and she is going to ally herself with an enemy general, and they are going to work together to get her dragons and defeat her home country in a war. He's obsessed with her right away. There's a lot of steam in this fantasy romance. There's a lot of banter and knife to the throat and all those things. So if that sounds good, you'll enjoy it. Then I read War Queen, which is the War Brides of Adric, #1 by Jordan Alexander. I gave this 4 stars. This one is a tortured queen gets a sweet orc king. He has conquered her country because her husband foolishly provoked a war with him. Her husband's dead. She's going to marry the orc. And then I also read The War Mistress. I gave this 3 stars. This one had turgid in it. Turgid. As a descriptor more than once, and I have infamously, I say infamously when in reality all I've done is do it and talk about it, but I've infamously DNF'd some books for using this word. I hate it. Let's never use it again. Let's never use it again. There's no reason to. But each one of those is a standalone couple. Then I read Under the Oak Tree Comic Volume 1. I gave this 4 stars. I've been intrigued by this webcomic for years. I just don't really want to read webcomics. I'm not super into the format, honestly. Like, I don't want to scroll on my phone and read it. I just don't. But I've always been intrigued by this, and I did really enjoy it. You have a woman with a stutter. Her father is abusive. Years ago, she was married off to a knight. He went to war the day after they got married. Has been out on a crusade ever since. He's coming back a war hero. He's much more important than he was when he left, and he's obsessed with her and she doesn't know it, and he is not aware of how she was treated, really. So there's some dubious consent in this, but he is very sweet to her. I'm looking forward to reading another volume when it's out. Then I read Ours for Halloween by Violet Taylor. I gave this 3 stars. This is a paranormal Halloween romance. It's why choose again. It's demons. She's dead. It did use exotic to describe the only guy that wasn't white, which is like a red flag in my book. It was fine. It was not as good as I was hoping it would be. I can see why other people like it. I'm not that person. Then I read Chase Me by Shayna Astor. I gave this 3 stars. This is another Halloween romance. It was weird. It might even be a 2 star. It was weird. So basically, you have like high school, college kids that do a scavenger hunt every year. This year, the guy that's her friend lets her know that he's into her, and they do primal play all over the place. Oh, and also another random girl is trying to kill her over the prize of the scavenger hunt, which is close to $1,000. Has other people helping her try to kill her. And then when she brings it up to their other friends that are running the scavenger hunt, they're like, how dare you say that? And then the next year, they do the scavenger hunt again. I am confused, honestly. I was confused-rid. There were some parts of the primal play I enjoyed, so I gave it 3 stars. It wasn't good. It was really weird. I don't understand. I feel like they had 5 different ideas for books and they mashed them together in this one novella, and it was not good. Then I read Cyclone, which is linear tactical #1 by Janie Crouch. I gave this 3 stars. It's the romantic suspense that Steph has really been enjoying. I don't know if I'm just like not into romantic suspense as much as I used to be, or if it's like some of the military and propaganda stuff kind of just rubs me the wrong way more easily. I don't know. But there was a lot of trauma between them and outside of them, honestly. But she was his dead wife's best friend, and his wife and young son were killed in a car accident 6 years ago. Right after their death, they hooked up. He was super duper drunk, said some pretty awful things to her, although he didn't really mean them and he doesn't remember them. But like, did we have to do that? I don't think we did have to do that. So anyways, they haven't seen each other since then. He's out of the military. He's doing training and stuff. And then there's a rapist going around that is attacking her. There were parts of the relationship that I really liked, but there were parts of the plot and specifically just like the trauma between them that I just didn't really enjoy nearly as much. Then I read Caged, which is Defiant Kings #1 by Bella Matthews. I gave this 3 stars. This is obviously like the spin-off of the series. There were a whole bunch of siblings and side characters that already had their couple and were referenced. He's the son of a billionaire. He's an MMA fighter. She's been in his circuit forever, but her mother was a drug addict. Her mother passed away with her as a little kid in the house, and she was with her for several hours. Then she and her brother were put in foster care, and then her brother ended up getting a college football scholarship and making it to the NFL, and that's kind of how they made it out and into this guy's orbit, because her brother plays for the team that his family owns, and like they're clearly all involved, so this must be a spin-off series, right? The Harry Potter movies were throughout this, and then there was a cross-dressing joke and a fat joke that just like set my alarm bells off, I guess, and I was like, I don't like this, I don't like that you wrote this and then edited it and all of that and left it. Like, I don't like that. This billionaire family, every single one of the siblings has a romance book different career, and to me that is just way too orchestrated. Like, I literally can't get over it. Yeah, not good. Then I read Coldhearted, which is Tooth and Claw #1 by Heather Guerrero. I gave this 4 stars. I liked this. The thing that I don't like in this, obviously, she doesn't know the paranormals are real. She moves to Alaska. They're all werewolves. It's pretty obvious. She does end up figuring it out, and they do end up telling her the truth and accepting her and blah, blah, blah. But, you know, I don't really like when the conflict is that they're paranormal. However, I did like this enough that it still got a 4 star. So that's honestly a very good selling pitch for this, that it did a thing that I really dislike and I liked it anyways. But all throughout this book, there was a lot of stuff that we knew what was going on and they didn't know what was going on. And I was just like, ugh, like, I don't like that. I don't like that. Her ex is stalking her. That is why she has moved to this small Alaskan town, and she is the English teacher. So I liked it. I will read more by this author. And then lastly, I read the first 3 books in the Broken Land series. The first one is Pathfinders Way by T.A. White. I gave these 5 stars. This is not as good as the Firebird Chronicles, which I fully expected because this was written first. This is an older series of hers. But obviously I give them all 5 stars. I'm still really loving it. This is a horde and a warlord, which I always am really into that trope and setting, and she is basically a scout or a pathfinder for her people. She ends up crossing paths with the horde and ends up disguising herself as one of their scouts. It's really good. It's not as good as the other series, but it is really good. I'm really enjoying it. The 3rd book left off on a good place to pause or stop, so I will probably read book 4 in November, but I will definitely be reading books 4 and 5 at some point. So yeah, definitely a new favorite author. Their other series seem like paranormal, romantic suspense, heavier on the suspense than the romance maybe, but I will probably read them at some point as well. This one was definitely more of a fantasy world, whereas the other one was sci-fi. Yeah, that's it. That's the 34 books that I read in October. Let me know if you have read or want to read any of these. I'd love rereads. And for me, November is peak fantasy season, so I'm hoping to read some good fantasy romance in the coming month. I did hit my reading goal for the year of 200 books in the month of October. I am already at like 226 or something stupid like that. So October's reading was a little bit out of control, but it's fine. And I did not really hit my 50% diversity goal, although I did read 100 diverse books for the year. This month, I wouldn't say that October's 50% goal was hit. That's it. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.